Okay, good. Thank you for joining us. Good morning. We are all very happy to have you here. We are starting a new session or a new series um, webinar seminars, AI Coffee Break, AI training seminar for academic staff, and it will be. We send the schedule where we have a list of topics that we will share and with the partners. Um, my name is Ali Shmueli. I'm from Eital, and I like to say a few words before we start the session. This project or collaboration is part of the Impact project that's funded by the Erasmus project, EU, and it's coordinated by Kostas, Professor Kostas, coordinated successfully with Kostas. It's a collaboration between Europe, Israel, and Morocco. It's a collaborative online international learning with the virtual activities to provide innovate means and approach for intellectual dialogues and collaboration through innovative digital technology and pedagogy. And that's part of this program. We are very happy, Meital, very happy to be part of this collaboration, of course, with the European partners and partners from Morocco. And a few words about Meital. We are mostly deal with, Meital is the Israeli Inter-University Center for E-Learning. We're dealing with research, knowledge center, webinar, seminar, and workshops. And when we're dealing with the community, create a large partners from all over all the higher education institute in Israel to collaborate, share information, and in implementing of learning technology to improve teaching and learning in the higher education in Israel. And some of our activity, as I said, we have learning technology catalog, technologies infrastructures like Moodles and WebWork, Blatten, and others that we offer to the other higher education institute, and a list of AI tools. This is from one aspect of our activity, but this is relevant for our topics now. The AI coffee break will be a series of sessions that will focus on integrating AI and digital tools in the research assistant. Digital tools in the research assistance, teaching enhancement, evaluation, and plagiarism detective, and more. There will be a list of lots of tools, and we'll prepare that and have a very short session of around 1 hour each time that will focus in other topics and try to bring more knowledge and information about it. And of course, to create a collaboration, cooperation, and this information and a discussion in the end of the session to see how to improve teaching and learning. Today we will have two sessions for the next hour. The first one the speaker will be Nicholas Berg, and we'll talk from Kahoot. And the second one will be Mentimeter, and the speaker will be Ty Gastelot. And we will start with Kahoot, of course. And Nicholas will talk about game-based learning platform, incorporated AI-powered tools to optimize the learning experience. This will be the first talks, and then we'll move to the other one. So, Nicholas, please share your presentation and go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. This sounds like a very exciting thing for you to have started up. I mean, it's very topical. Everybody's talking about AI everywhere now, so it's definitely something worth exploring as well when it comes to Kahoot. And thank you for allowing Kahoot to be the first one out on this stage. I really appreciate the chance to talk to you guys. I hope you all have your coffees ready, and let's get started with Kahoot and how it relates or how it brings AI into the experience and the engagement for students, basically. So that's what has been the idea with bringing Kahoot. Everybody knows Kahoot, obviously. A game-based platform. Quiz comes to mind probably for most of you thinking about Kahoot. It's been more developed now into a platform for actually using throughout lecturing, using as a presentation platform, and making it easy for teachers, easy and quick for teachers to create content in Kahoot. Yeah, and my name is Niklas. I've been working with Kahoot EDU, the platform mainly focusing towards the education segment. Of course, we have versions for both the universities and for K-12 education as well. And we'll take a look into the Kahoot EDU platform for higher education. Let's see if I can get the correct window shared here. It should be this one. And before we jump into this teacher dashboard, I wanted to take a look at some of the things which I'd highly recommend you also maybe go in and check. We offer quarterly newsletters with all of our new latest updates as well. So I'm gonna just take a look and open up this from Q4, which means the end of last year, and just to talk about the origins of AI in Kahoot. About a year ago, a bit longer than that, we introduced AI. And the idea was then pretty basic, to just allow teachers to write a topic in Kahoot, and Kahoot would generate a quiz based on that topic. So it was basically a quiz generator then. You could write very specific topics as well to get your subject matter, but it was quite constricted to when it comes to languages, for example. So there wasn't a lot of options to do that. Well, it's been improved, and I'm going to show you that in just a bit. But the latest news from the last few months of last year is that we've introduced slide sync, so that it's more easy for teachers to import existing content. So you can actually use Google Slides or your PowerPoint presentations, bring them directly into Kahoot, and turn them into that engaging content that Kahoot offers, because that's what Kahoot is all about, right? Actually involving your students in the lecture, in the session you're having, mandating them to think for themselves, come up with their own ideas. And that's obviously possible to do with the multiple different kinds of question types that we offer. Sorry, I need to take a drink every once in a while. I woke up with a sore throat. I guess there's all kinds of viruses going on. I hope I'm not catching one. Yeah, and then gradually we've been expanding on the AI things. So at the moment, for example, we offer the capability to generate content from web pages and PDFs as well. So if a teacher wants to use a website to generate Kahoot content by AI assisted features, that's very simple to do. And also existing content in PDF format. So I mentioned that we offer support for Google Slides and for PowerPoint, and also Keynote, but in a way of where you can actually download your presentations into a PDF format and then upload them into Kahoot by using the AI assistant features to either create a quiz or a presentation as well. One of the latest things also is to generate content from Wikipedia. So if you have a Wikipedia article, you can search for them within Kahoot, and then actually use that information to base the presentation or the quiz you want to create on. Further going into the getting away from the quiziness of things, we've actually introduced a so-called lecture mode, which allows teachers to actually present information without having to use a podium, without having to have points or questions, basically, in the content that teachers are presenting. Then also, obviously, one important thing is the LTI 1.3 Advantage support, which allows Kahoot to be integrated into Moodle or another type of LMS system that schools are using. So it can be used for quite a lot of things there, actually starting up Kahoots directly within the LMS, or also for doing some grade passback as well. We don't have to look into Kahootopia that much more, because that's more directed towards the younger students of Kahoot and the K-12 level version of Kahoot. Right, so I definitely recommend, like I said, taking a look at our quarterly newsletter site in Kahoot Help and Resource Center. I will share the link to this to Anat and the guys at Maytal, so that you can easily get information from them by request. Okay, but let's look at the Kahoot EDU dashboard here and focus in on the teacher toolbar here, as we are beginning to create some content in Kahoot using the AI features. I won't go through the basics of Kahoot. I trust that most of you know already, and we have quite a limited time here, so I'm just going to focus on the topic at hand, so the AI features here. But just to go through these different kinds of buttons here, because there's quite a lot going on here, I have to be honest. But the basic things have been highlighted here up in the teacher toolbar. Obviously, you can also just click, create and choose if you want to create a Kahoot or a story or a course. Kahoot obviously can consist of a quiz or a presentation, why not a poll as well. A story is basically a short content bite that you can create by using your existing content, for example, a PDF, and actually create sort of like a miniature bite-sized AI-assisted condensed version of your PDF in the form of a story. Courses obviously then can be classified as a combination of both Kahoots, stories, why not other kinds of information as well, such as PDF documents or YouTube videos. The sky's the limit there. So basically, you can, within a course, create multiple different kinds of modules, and in these modules you can have a lot of different kinds of activities. So you can have multiple Kahoots, for example, within a course if you want to build something a bit larger than just a Kahoot presentation or a quiz. But looking at these buttons here in the teacher toolbar, I mentioned the lecture mode. So you can actually create a lecture Kahoot from the start. This is basically something that you can use to enable things such as, like I mentioned, getting rid of the podium, getting rid of points. You can also more easily, if you have students, for example, in a auditorium setting, students come in a bit late to the session, they can actually join this lecture mode Kahoot whenever. So with a standard Kahoot quiz or a presentation, they can only join at the very beginning, but now they can actually also jump in whenever, even if they're a bit late from the lecture. Right, next we have the AI generator here, which we're going to look at very soon. I also mentioned the sync with Google Slides and PowerPoint, so you can actually bring your slides from Google Slides or PowerPoint directly into Kahoot. And then when you make changes to the original document in your Google Drive or in PowerPoint in the Microsoft environment, it will actually update directly into Kahoot, so you don't have to make changes in multiple different places. Also, you can use a PDF that you have from before to create a presentation or a quiz, which means that you upload your PDF into Kahoot. The Kahoot AI will actually take that information and use that for generating a presentation or a quiz. Then I also mentioned the Wikipedia thing already, so you can actually also use Wikipedia to create your Kahoots. The more traditional ways then to create Kahoots are also obviously available, so you can use a pre-made Kahoot or a template from millions of Kahoots that our teachers and our community has created and chosen to share publicly, so you can use one of those as well. But let's jump into the AI generator here. So this is basically the dashboard for the AI generation. And here we see that we have a bunch of options we can use. So first here we have, for example, what we want to base our presentation on. So we can just type in a topic, for example, Paris Olympics, or then we have some suggestions here for digestive system for kids, amazing animal abilities, and so on and so on. We can also choose like I mentioned, a URL. So if we have a website we want to use, we can just enter the website URL here and click generate, and Kahoot AI will use the information behind that website for the generation. PDF, obviously, like I mentioned, we can upload our PDF as well and use that as the base for creating things. Oops, sorry. Right. Wikipedia articles, if you want to use one of those, we can actually search for these articles within Kahoot. Here we can choose which language we want, or what language type of content we want to search for. And based on what language we have selected here in our presentation or quiz generation, we can actually get results in any language that's available. Basically, even if we use a Wikipedia article that's on a different language. Right, so if we go and look at just an example here, let's use just a topic, and let's choose one of these selected topics here. So let's go with solar system facts, for example. Let's do a presentation format, because it is already a presentation. We can use English here. Skill level could be advanced, and the tone of voice may be formal for this testing. And let's go ahead and create some slides on this. So we see that the AI generation is starting to work on that topic, and we can actually see that it's already generated 16 slides for us here based on the topic that we've chosen. We can take a look at them in a thumbnail mode here, so we can see all 21 slides that have been created here. And we can see that the AI already chooses the imagery, for example, for us. So we don't have to go in and look for pictures that are suitable if we don't want to. So we can see here that when we're creating a presentation, the first slide here will basically be just a slide, informational slide. And the next slide then will be a poll here. So we can start off by asking a simple question from our audience, and they can get to engage with the presentation right from the beginning. Then we have some further informational slides here as well. And then we have sort of every other slide is a question slide, and every other slide is a informational slide. And then we can go ahead and add them all into our presentation, so they jump into the background here. And now if we wanted to, we could go in and find a Wikipedia article on the same subject. And we could use that for creating, for example, another batch of slides for our presentation. So we can see that we now chose a Wikipedia article called Outer Space, and now Kahoot has taken that information and created a new presentation on that. Obviously, if we want to just have quiz questions, we can also do that. So just choosing the format as quiz and then refreshing it, we will get only questions as well without any informational slides. Right, and then when we've basically made our structure here, or made our base for our Kahoot, we can then obviously jump into the presentation, and we can then go ahead and, for example, if we want to change this quiz question into another question type, because obviously in Kahoot EDU we have quite a lot of different question types. We can use the ones testing knowledge, which do have a correct or a wrong answer. Or we could actually choose a question type that does not mandate a correct answer. So we can do polls, and we can rate things on a scale, or we can do word clouds, for example, or brainstorm. So these are some of the options that we have to edit our content. Once we've had the grunt work being made for us already, and we've saved obviously a lot of time we don't have to look into changing maybe pictures. Obviously, we can do that if we want to. We can remove the media here and, for example, insert a new one based on or choosing from some of our image banks here. And obviously, since the question relates to space, Kahoot will automatically give us suggestions on space-related imagery here as well. Obviously, we can use GIFs as well in our presentations, so a bit of moving images, and then also if we have a YouTube video we'd like to choose, we can do that. So we can, for example, use this National Geographic video. We can set the starting time and the end time of the video, and then just add it into our presentation and use that. Right, and then also I wanted to highlight bringing our own stuff here. So if we want to just import slides into our Kahoot presentation, we can do that. So we can use Google Slides or PowerPoint, or then upload a PDF file of our own. So that's very useful also if we have all content we want to bring into Kahoot and use that, you know, as simply a slideshow as well. And why do you want to do that? Well, basically, let me show you here a preview. We can actually add some engagement here by offering students to the ability to give us reactions on their own devices. So they can actually react to the information that's being presented to them. And as teachers, we can actually get some data on that. So we can look at how many thumbs up we've gotten, for example, on a certain slide, and base our, you know, engagement with the audience based on the reactions we're getting. So that could be a fun thing to do, obviously, as well. We know that, okay, now we have 8 of our audience who maybe don't know what this subject is about, and we can then rearrange and you know, discuss based on that. Obviously, we can turn off slides as well, or sorry, reactions as well, so we don't have to allow our students to participate in that way. So basically, that is how AI helps teachers in you know, creating content for Kahoot in a fast and easy way. Obviously, teachers are able to, you know, edit that content and make it more suitable for the thing that they're trying to achieve very easily as well. There are a lot of options, like I mentioned, you know, turning a slide also into a question is something that you can obviously do. So only the sky is the limit, and of course the lecturers and the professors and teachers are the ones who really take this tool and turn it into something magical. But Kahoot has been proven definitely to, you know, increase the engagement, to reduce dropout rates actually in higher ed, and then also to improve on learning results. According to studies by a whole letter grade, actually, study made in the US. So definitely something that is working in the classroom to, you know, increase that engagement and bringing or contributing to creating a you know, nice learning environment that engages the audience. Obviously, with Kahoot, you can also give these tools for creating presentations to students using student passes. So that's something you might want to look into as well. Obviously, we know that when students are, or when human beings are creating something, they're learning at the same time. So that's something to consider also. Right, I think my time is basically at the end. Let's have some questions also. If you have, I'd love to zoom in on something I've shown you here in further detail if you have questions. I haven't taken a look at the chat here, if it's enabled and if we are able to get questions there. But yeah.
There is a question in the chat.
Okay, yeah.
How well does the AI feature work with Hebrew? That means with any language, Hebrew especially.
Yeah. Yes. So I think we looked at this a while back, and we actually obviously offer Hebrew here as well as a language.
It's a little bit, lower. Yeah, next one.
Down here. Yes,
Yeah.
there it is. And basically, if you want to use, for example, the same, let's see, we need to change the language here again. There we go. And then just click refresh. It will actually give us, the Hebrew language here as well. But I can't remember if there was something about, because I know that the Hebrew alphabet is read from the other side, if I'm correct. So I'm not sure if there was something when it comes to the formatting that was.
Let me. I'm the one asking the question, and I'm sorry for not opening my camera. I have a problem.
Yeah, no worries.
More than the problem with right and left, the question is how well does the AI know to generate questions and slides and whatever in Hebrew?
Yeah, so it's OpenAI based, so it should obviously improve all the time, but also to my knowledge it should be up to par. We can see that there are some questions here that I'm showing on my screen at the moment. Unfortunately, I don't know Hebrew, so I can't really comment on the content of the question, but this is something that you could definitely test for yourself and play around with to see how well it adapts actually to the needs of individual teachers or lecturers.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I hope that was helpful.
Another questions?
Yes. I assume that regarding pictures and other third-party input, there is no issue about copyrights and such. No, there's no issue. So all of the content that you can use, natively with Kahoot is obviously okay to use. So when we are adding questions or adding media here from our image banks, we use Getty images, and Unsplash. Everything is basically copyrighted or approved for use here in Kahoot. So there should not be any issues with that.
What?
Specific pricing policy. Sorry?
We have raising hand, so let's give Shmuel a minute. Nicholas, go ahead. Shmuel, go ahead.
Yeah? Okay. I want to ask you a question. If we can to generate content, if with Kahoot we can to generate content directly from generative AI chatbots of ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude.
Well, not directly, no. I mean, if you want to just use a topic to generate your Kahoot content, which can then be a quiz or a presentation, then basically that might be pretty similar to just using an AI generator such as ChatGPT as well. But yeah, so the output you can get in Kahoot is basically a quiz or a presentation then on that. I don't know if you want to add some more into that question, if I didn't manage to answer or understand it correctly, but basically what I've shown you now is what the extent of what you can do with the AI generation in Kahoot. So it's more of like an assistant to helping you create the basis for a presentation and a quiz that you can then go in and edit if needed. And then we have some other, go ahead, Shmuel, if you have any other
I think there is some other in the chat.
Yes. So we have from George there. Do you have a specific pricing policy for universities? Yes, Kahoot EDU has specific pricing policies for universities based on basically the number of users you would like to have, under the EDU umbrella as part of the organizational license plan. Obviously, there are a lot of advantages with that centralization. You can have a shared library, for example, and then obviously for universities, the centralized management as well, where you can add new lecturers, educators, or remove old ones as well. So there are a lot of benefits with going with a Kahoot EDU license, and the fact that Kahoot EDU contains all of these features and all of the features we have available. And then we have a question from Aviv. How do you share the presentation with the students? Basically, students don't need to have an account in Kahoot, so you just provide them with a QR code or a PIN code or a direct link to the presentation you wish to either present live for them, or then you can also assign Kahoot presentations and quizzes to students using those three methods. So QR code, PIN code, or a direct link to the presentation. Then we have a question there from, I can't pronounce the name, but is there any extensions for education community to use the trial version more than 7 days? Well, obviously, if we have a university or a school that's interested in taking a look at Kahoot EDU and what it can do within their school, then we obviously can discuss, a pilot option there as well. So, but these are always negotiated, specifically with each individual university.
Nicholas, I have to add to that we have an agreement in Israel, at least Meital, for the Higher Education Institute. So there is Edu agreement, Kahoot Edu.
Some of the issues that they are going to refer to career office, probably it's irrelevant for the people that they work in the library. How are you going to face this? This is a challenge that I have faced in the past. That's why I'm asking. However,
Costas?
Support services and share good challenges and policies for various services in the university is very important.
We try to see if we can.
However, you need to think about this, because sometimes, they ask now, it's a little bit irrelevant for me. And all of them, 3 days, they're coming all together. So they don't have a lot of alternatives, to follow something else. So just, think.
Yeah, in another meeting. Okay, so just
Right.
Just to say that we have an agreement, Edu agreement here in Israel for the Higher Education Institute in Israel. I think all other countries can use these kinds of agreement for the institute organization. So if we have another question, can we edit? There is another question. Can we edit the slide?
Yes, from Claudio. Yes, we can edit slides. I mean, we do offer for the pre-made slides, we offer a few different kinds of outlays here. So we can have a classic, and we can choose then from various, outlays here as well. But if you are, looking to create a presentation in, for example, PowerPoint, if you're more familiar with that, you can obviously do that and then just import that PowerPoint presentation directly into Kahoot, and the slide will look exactly as it does in PowerPoint as well. So yes, short answer is yes.
So I think there is no other questions. So thank you very much, Nicholas. Of course, any of the participants who like to have more information can contact you, of course, and if we can help them, contact us. And we will now move to the second presentation about the Mentimeter. The speaker will be Itai Gastelut. She will talk about the platform for creating interactive presentation, now integrated AI-powered capabilities. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for me.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Nice presentation, Nicholas. And thanks, everyone. Nice to meet you. I think last session I had a colleague attend on my behalf. So happy to be here. And again, my name is Itai, and I work to support the higher ed customers, whether they have a campus agreement or maybe a smaller bulk of licenses with us. And I'll be happy to show you a little bit more of what Mentimeter can do for your universities. And I'll kind of show you as well what we have integrated with our AI. So let me kind of start here by sharing my screen. And let me know if you can see it. I believe you can. In case you hear some noise in the background, I do have dogs, so if they bark, my apologies. But other than that, I want to share a little bit of what we can do with our AI capabilities, and I'll show you just the kind of draft or Menti generator. So if we are at our home screen, you will see that we have the option here to start with AI, and this is using OpenAI. So you can enter a prompt and it will generate a draft for you. In this case, I will go ahead and enter what I want, and I'll put in here, create the role of technology and innovation in shaping Israel's economy, opportunities and challenges. And I want it to be in a seminar format, and I want it to be in Hebrew. And of course, you can type it in Hebrew and it will understand, but for this purpose, I will enter it as such. And I will continue to submit here. And it will ask me what kind of format or theme I want, if I want it default, if I want it a little bit more colorful, but I will go ahead and then just enter our standard default theme. It will take a few seconds, and then what it will do is, again, it will generate a draft. It will use images, it will use content based off what it gathers from OpenAI. And if this is all, of course, customizable, but it really lowers the threshold on getting started, whether it is you want to do a quiz, whether it is you want to do an end of course evaluation with the students, or of any other type. I will just go ahead and click here, start editing. And as you can see, it has automatically created, for example, the seminar. It has kind of an agenda, and it will go into some open-ended questions. I have a multiple choice here. So it's making it pretty interactive. We have a scale so we can assess different statements in one go. And then another open-ended, and we have kind of like the closing statements. So you can rearrange easily if you want to change the order. If you want to change, for example, the heading or the content, you can do so here. And you can, of course, change interactivity. So if you want to add more reactions to the session, you can do so here. You can enable the Q&A, and you can do quite a lot. We have moderation below. So let's say that you might have a very large session. It might be a very big lecture with maybe 100 students, and you might want to have an assistant support you with the moderation. So you can enable that, and you have someone to kind of support you with those questions. So we can also follow. Yes, of course. So I saw the question from George, and it said, can you please change the language to English so we can also follow? This is just an example of creating a presentation in Hebrew as we're talking to Israel universities. But of course, I'm actually going to jump back into my presentation, which is in English. So if there are any questions, feel free to put me here in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer them. So I'm going to jump back in here. And this is an interactive session. I want you to kind of go along as you were in both seats, whether you are the academic or like the teacher that you are presenting in class, or you're a student. So I'm going to go ahead and enter here the QR code. And I'm just going to make this full screen. And I would love for you to follow along with me. This is, again, interactive. So it makes it a little bit easier to see how the engagement shows in real time. Lovely. And if you would like, once you're in, you can add a reaction, and I'll be able to kind of see it here. And the questions can come in, of course, here via Menti, or you can, of course, ask me in the chat here via Zoom. Today, what I'm going to show is kind of a template that you can follow on using Mentimeter for teaching. And something that we kind of enabled as well is you can actually move the QR code if it is kind of blocking any sort of content that you have. You can just hover over and you can very easily move it around. So feel free to also know that that is a possibility. This is something that we just kind of launched through our product team. Of course, you will always have, and I'm actually going to show it here, the the code. You can use the link. If you just copy it here, I can put it in the chat, for example, on Zoom. So if you want to share it beforehand with your students, you can do so. They can open a different tab, or they can do it directly here. We do have integration with Zoom, and we have it with Teams as well. So you can launch your Mentimeter presentation directly on the Zoom without having to share your screen. They'll have it on the right-hand side. So that also increases participation if you were to have a kind of remote or hybrid session. And I just want to give a little bit of an overview as to what Mentimeter supports within the learning journey. So we cover pretty much throughout the whole phases, whether it is on the beginning, collecting expectations or questions before lectures. Mentimeter can be used asynchronously. So you can prepare surveys and you can kind of ask and understand what is the knowledge of the students prior to you hosting your lecture. So you can make sure if there's any knowledge gaps, you can focus or emphasize on those. You can excel in hybrid, remote, or an in-person learning. So you can use Mentimeter to mitigate people zoning out. You have multiple engagement points. And this also drives engagement and it increases the learning effectiveness for the students. I also have a question. I can see it here as they're popping in, and I can choose to have a separate slide for Q&A, but I can also bring it up to screen at any time. So I will do so here. Just checking how reply looks like. Yes. And you'll see here you have a thumbs up. You can also have the students go ahead and upvote the questions that they find more relevant. You might not be able to cover them all in class, and you might have to cover them on a different forum. But maybe if you have 3 or 4 questions that have been highly upvoted, you know those are relevant for all the students, and you can go ahead and answer them there. And note that even if you have marked them answered, they will always remain on your results page. And also, if you were to export the results, you'll see which questions have been answered and which ones were not. So you can always track that. And you'll see where the question was asked as well. So in case you have different speakers, you'll know who needs to address it. But I'm going to mark that one as answered. Lovely. And you can also use Mentimeter, of course, to conduct formative assessments during the learning journey. So it doesn't have to be at the end of a course evaluation. You can collect real-time information to enhance the instruction and the learner's understanding as it goes along. Also, you gauge understanding and you check the knowledge and you encourage questions and start conversations. Of course, every, let's say, professor has their way of teaching, and they might want to use live interaction versus using more virtual interaction, such as Mentimeter. But Mentimeter can be used to kind of start those discussions. If we have an open-ended question with a specific topic, you can see where the majority of the room sits on a preference, and then you can start to create those discussions, do kind of like peer instruction groups and so on. And of course, Mentimeter is designed to provide an equal opportunity for everyone to participate. So whether it's the shyest person in the room or the most active, everyone's inputs will be considered equal. And at the end of a session, or maybe at the end of even the course evaluation or a module, you can collect feedback so that way you can improve your teaching. So it doesn't only just make it efficient or support the students, but also provides valuable knowledge for the academic or the teacher in hand. So you can also increase the feedback rate of the module by collecting these little feedback points throughout each session. And you can do it live before the session ends and before maybe sending them an extra survey that the students might not go and access, but doing it during class. All right, I see another question. Are all replies stay anonymous? This is a really great one. I'm also going to touch on this in just a moment. a little further in today's session. But as of it is now, it is anonymous. We didn't collect your names, and it's not being saved or stored anywhere. When you go to the results, you see maybe person 1, person 2, and person 3 will or voter 3 and so on. Those will look like the responses. However, our product team has just launched an opportunity for each of the sessions, and this is if it's enabled in the workspace. Each of the session, you can remove anonymity and you can request the name of the participants. And this will now then be visible on screen. So for example, here it will say, Eli has asked, our all replies stay anonymous, for example. So you can remove anonymity, and that's a possibility now. And we have more on the roadmap. But if for maybe a safe environment, if students are feeling more comfortable to stay anonymous, of course, that's always the first option for Mentimeter. All right, so I'm gonna move on here. And I just wanna kind of walk you through the little bit of the agenda that we're gonna cover today. So I'll share how we're gonna use this template. Of course, I'll share the template, so if you wanna go through in your own pace, you can. Common challenges for educators and how we kind of address those. So keeping students engaged, understanding knowledge levels, adapting to varying student needs, and receiving ongoing feedback. And also I'll cover a little bit of what our product updates are and what's coming in our roadmap. And of course, feel free to ask me any questions anytime, whether it's here on the chat or through Mentimeter. So how to use this template. So this template in particular includes successful Mentimeter examples within teaching. And this is categorized by 4 common challenges, which is the ones that I shared a moment ago. And you'll be able to see them now on the next slide. So you can adjust this in your sessions, but these are offering some tips and tricks that are a little bit more hands-on and visible for you moving forward. So common challenges, of course, keeping students engaged. Engaging and interacting with students in a large lecture hall, for example, or blended environments can be a challenge. And maintaining the focus of the students. They have a lot of information to retain, so it's easy for them to kind of check out. Understanding knowledge levels, so continuously assessing students to understand in between exams how they're doing versus another formal examination. And adapting to varying student needs. We might have a large group of the students that are maybe very well on board on the material and the knowledge, but there might be some students that are a little behind or in a different path. So we need to make sure that we're able to adapt to all of the students, and we need to hear them out for that. So understanding kind of what their prior knowledge is, their motivation and learning style, so you can adapt your teaching. And receiving ongoing feedback, that kind of fresh feedback is important so that you can adapt again the modules or your course itself. So instead of doing it towards the end of the course when it's already a little bit too late, and it might already discourage the student to continue in their learning path. So here are some examples on how we can keep the students engaged. And multiple choice, of course, is one of the most used, and you can make it as fun, as interactive as you want. For example, adding GIFs on it. We have, of course, a library you can choose from, whether it's an image, you can import an image, or you can use the GIFs that are already there. And I would love to hear from you. What is your experience in this topic? And this is more just to understand if you've used Mentimeter yourself. If you haven't joined, you can of course use the QR code. And I see now there are some that this is their first Mentimeter experience. And I have presented with Mentimeter before. Okay, that's amazing. So it's kind of like in between. And I have only joined Mentimeter as a participant. So you've seen it more as a voter versus you creating material. And of course, you can always see how many participants you have. I can see down here in the little people icon or person icon, I have 5. Maybe my students in my group are 15. So I can kind of wait and see, all right, I need some more input when move forward when we have 10, for example. So you can always have an understanding as to how much engagement you're getting in class. But good. So I do have another chat question here. Let's see. Is Mentimeter accessible? Does it follow web content accessibility guidelines? That's a great question. And yes, we do. I will actually exit out of here just to show you. We have under the settings button, we have the accessibility option, and it'll actually give you an overall score as to how accessible your presentation is. I can see that text contrast is the contrast is fine, but I don't have alternative text for these specific images. And I have other concerns here. So we have an accessibility team, and we do have we had a webinar a couple months ago on accessibility and inclusivity. And you can click here to read more and how to make your presentation more accessible. But we're constantly improving that. So if you have any sort of questions in particular, you can feel free to reach out to us. But yes, of course, accessibility is always top of mind. All right. Hopefully I've kind of addressed that question. So I'm just going to make sure that I marked it. Oh, actually it was in the chat here, so we're fine. Lovely. You can also use the pin on image, whether it is to test knowledge. Maybe it's an X-ray and you want them to mark down where it is that the fracture of a bone is, and they have to kind of select where in the image it is. But in this case, for example, I'm just asking, where are you in your learning journey? Do you feel quite confident in your knowledge skills? Are you going through the valley of despair, and so on? And you can make it a little bit fun for them. So I'll wait to kind of get a couple of pins there just to see how it's popping on screen so you can visually see it yourselves as well. Perfect. So going up from wisdom to slope and enlightenment, that's great. Awesome. And okay, so again, you can use it to test knowledge. You can use it for something fun. For example, if you want to kind of do a little icebreaker or get them to get a little bit distracted from a very heavy topic, you can have them like connect the dots, for example, in this case, and you can make it a little bit fun. You can, there you go. Yeah, exactly. So again, you can use many different ways to use Mentimeter, whether it is you want to make it very simple, very maybe professional, or very fun. Great. I see the Godzilla is getting built quite nicely there. All right. And of course, an open-ended question. What is the most interesting or unexpected thing you have learned so far in the course? And you can use this as an example right now for my session. If you want to add something around Mentimeter that you've just seen that you hadn't noticed it before, you can enter it here. But for example, the students may be able to enter, I really found it interesting, this specific piece of information from your course. I wasn't aware of it. Or I really like that you implemented this kind of fun exam for us, or whatever it may be. And one thing that I want to add here for the open-ended, and if we're talking about the Q&A window through this slide. Yes. Okay, so again, with Q&A, you can, of course, enable Q&A throughout all the session. So as I have it now, I have it available with all the slides. You can limit it to one particular slide, and you can always bring up the questions whenever you want. Or I can leave them towards the end of the session if it seems distracting. And of course, you can moderate it too. I like the idea of building a lecture with this tool. Yes, you can build a lecture, you can build a quiz, you can build an end of course evaluation, whatever it may be. And it kind of helps you to have something to start off with. And just kind of tweak it and tailor it to your own needs. And something fun about the open-ended with regards to AI is that, of course, you can also summarize this. So I'm going to need a couple of more votes in here. Once I reach 11 comments, and you can just do random ones if you like, but I want you to kind of see what we can do with AI. So down here, this is kind of like, we call it the Menti button, or the little light bulb here. You can explore what you can do on the live moment. So versus just on the editor, I can then create an open-ended follow-up question based on whatever it is. Maybe I have a multiple choice and I want to then create an open-ended question. I can do that. I can create a summary based on the comments that I get from here in this specific question. And I can also create groups or categorize through AI. And then I can create some sort of kind of like a or like a workshop brainstorming session and ask to have them vote on what is the most interesting of the comments here. So the way the data is presented, perfect. For the summary, I'm just going to see if it actually generates it here. there we go. Interesting course insights. So we have, it'll usually bring up like 5 bullet points based on everything that we have. And it might be on a lecture, you might get 30 comments, 25. It's really hard to understand trends. So this is a really neat way to get a summarize of everything in the LiveGo lecture building tool and data presentation style. That's from what I got here. Of course, I would have gotten more. It would have shown me a couple more options, but then I can also create groups. So I'm going to have the AI categorize everything into specific groups, and I can see that it's split it into these 3 categories. We might have the majority up in this space if the comments are relative to this point, and I can go in and see each one in particular. So those are things that you can do in the live moment. And of course, as I mentioned, you can, of course, enable the option to vote. So hopefully that was insightful. And again, this is a way to kind of have a good understanding in the live moment. So again, using the AI grouping can get a little bit of an overview and start discussions in class. You can use it as a brainstorming session to have them vote on the responses. And voting questions is always encouraged to make sure that the teacher in hand can actually respond to the most interesting questions for the students. So understanding knowledge levels, we're going to see some examples here, and we can use the ranking. It takes a little bit of thought here on how would you rate your knowledge on the following areas. You can add multiple options. I've added 4. So on pedagogy, research and subject expertise, digital tools and technology, and educational technology, and student guidance and mentorship. I'm going to wait to get a couple of here while I go into the question. Is there any tool for inserting math notation? You can, of course, insert, you can enter an image. So if you have maybe a math equation that you want to add onto a Mentimeter slide, you can add it as an image, and then you can add, again, multiple choice option with what is the correct answer, A, B, C, or D, and you can enter some options there. So you can enter it that way. But maybe I can enter like the help article on how you can use math equations within Mentimeter as well. Hopefully that answered a bit of your question. So lovely. So we see that as our input is coming along, it is moving real time, and I can see how many inputs I've received. So I can see that the majority are quite knowledgeable within digital tools and educational technology, which is great. I also have another question here. Are you using Zoom standard screen share, or does Mentimeter have a unique collaboration with Zoom? Mentimeter has a unique collaboration with Zoom, which I did not use in this case, but you can, of course, add in the app Mentimeter within Zoom, and then you can launch your Mentimeter presentation directly. So on the right-hand side, you'll see all the little voting options as you're moving along your presentation, and you can be sharing something else in your screen, and it also encourages or increases the engagement there. So we do have that. Lovely. All right. So again, multiple choice, you can ask the students, are you keeping up with the course? Yes, no, not sure, very directly. And again, they're going to feel comfortable because it's anonymous at this point. So you might have some that are, yes, they're keeping up with the course. Some are not so sure, and some are not feeling confident at all. So I'm going to wait to get a couple of maybe just a no, we're not sure, just so you can see the varying differences here on when input's coming in. And I will just mark that one as answered as well. Lovely. All right. Okay. Well, the majority, let's say that they are. Then I'm going to ask a follow-up question. Is there anything that's missing from your learning experience? I might have received some no's, or I might have received some unsures, and I want to understand a little bit more without asking directly to the student, what is it that you need, and putting them on the spot. So I'll wait to receive some input here. And I can see that unknown did not vote on the previous question, but prefers to have some more personal feedback and study resources. And then I have some that actually voted yes on the previous one, and also same options here. So this is our segmentation. You can segment directly, you can create the segmentation on the edit view, but you can also do it directly from here. And I can switch the segmentation between other different questions that I've created from multiple choice. You can also follow through on your results page. But for the sake of time, because I know I'm maybe a little behind on my time, I want you to know that on your results page, you will be able to see what is the engagement participation rate. So what was the percentage on your participation as to the overall session to each of the individual slides that you received, just to understand which ones get more engagement from your students. And you can create segmentation directly from here as well. So if I have an open-ended question, I can see that maybe the member that was not keeping up with the course that they will prefer to receive more live feedback, for example. And now we'll do a fun little quiz just so that you can see how Mentimeter enhances their quiz. So I have 11 people that have joined, and I'll just go ahead and click to get started. This is a close-ended quiz question. What is the main function of the mitochondria in a cell? To store genetic information, to produce energy in the form of ATP, to control cell division, to synthesize proteins. And I've added like 10 seconds or 15 seconds. You can, of course, increase the time. You can choose to change that. But perfect. I see that 4 have answered correctly and 1 there. So the majority, let's see, are knowledgeable on that topic. All right, we'll go to question 2. And you can also, mind you, well, I'll answer that later. But now, what is the process called which plants convert sunlight into energy? And this is one that you actually have to type in the answer. But I want to also say that I added faster responses, actually give you more points. But if I want to kind of keep in mind the inclusivity and there might be some people that have visual impairments and it might be a little bit difficult for them, I can choose to remove that. They don't get extra points for answering faster, and it's just correct or incorrect responses. Perfect. So I have 2 responses here, photosynthesis, and this one clearly is correct, but it was mistyped. I can choose to mark it correct as well, or I can choose to mark it incorrect. So I corrected it there based on that grammar misspell. And I can see that, let's see who got. Ooh, okay. Oh, Tao. All right, Tao, congratulations. You'll see some confetti on your screen there. So that's one way also to kind of add something fun element and also knowledge tech the students. And adapting to varying students' needs, you can ask multiple statements with a skill question. And I'm just going to enter here a test vote just so that you can see it real time. And I can hover over each of the responses so I can see if there are outliers. If the majority are feeling quite confident, but there might be some members that do not feel that they are or did not really like the session, I can then follow up with a open-ended question and ask, what is it that you would prefer for next course or the next module? But this is one way of kind of gathering many inputs in one go. You can always reset the results. Something very powerful with skills is that you can reset results and you can reuse in different sessions, and you can see how the knowledge maybe is increasing throughout each session, or if things have maybe adjusted from, or they like things that you've adjusted in your course and now they're quite happy with the way it's being presented, you can kind of assess it over time and have historical kind of trends there. Of course, receiving ongoing feedback is very important. So you can, of course, do so in this format as well. You can do 100 points. So it takes a little bit more thought process on which one weighs more. But I'm going to speed through this and just kind of show you that we do have a page that will show you our product releases. So this is the change log. And you can see, for example, the QR code can now be moved. AI summarization is more reliable. Granular access for collaborators. So you can choose to add members to your presentation, colleagues, or maybe it could be your leader, and they can go ahead and edit or comment and kind of collaborate with you in a presentation and so on. So you can see our product releases here. But I'm going to just kind of go back here and walk you through some of them. So identify participants. I mentioned before that Mentimeter is anonymous by default, but you can, of course, choose to remove the anonymity. If I go on to interactivity, I can click here because I have now shared results, but I can click here to have the participant names required, and that will actually prompt something in their screen when they scan the QR code, and they'll ask them for their name. So they'll enter Eli or Constantinos, etc. So this is where they type it. It might not be 100% accurate because they might type in a colleague's or another student's name, but this is optional for now. And something that we will be launching as well will be to have them authenticated through single sign-on. So that's kind of another layer. And this might be for different purposes, whether you want to do maybe some sort of attendance purposes, or you might have a session or a teacher might not feel very safe because they've received some comments from students that were not very nice. So they need to kind of enable that, and that way they kind of can track the students on their votes, comments, and so on. So that authenticated participants, it's what's coming on our roadmap. And again, this will always be optional. The Menti AI Builder, we saw that at the beginning. Insights button that allows you to kind of create more content or kind of tailor your presentation throughout this live session. Collaboration and comments in the editor. So I can choose to share this presentation with some colleagues, and I can have them have edit rights so they can create the presentation or change it along with me. They can add comments or they can just view. And then if we have comments, and then I can add here, for example, I'm gonna tag my colleague and say, do you like this? Should we change it? Or so on, right? And then click and comment. So they'll get a little pop-up letting them know that they received some comment there. And yeah, we have a new PowerPoint integration. So that before you can only add a couple of slides in your PowerPoint for Mentimeter. Now with the new add-in, you can add all the slides of your Mentimeter presentation directly onto PowerPoint. So if you want to merge content that you already have, maybe quite heavy content on PowerPoint, you can add in all your Mentimeter slides and make it interactive. Things that are coming in the roadmap, we have changed Mentimeter quite a bit. So we're revamping our product videos, the kind of how to use and so on. So those are being launched. And transfer presentations, we're going to make it very easy that if you have maybe an allocated license for someone in your team and that person were to leave the university and you need all their content to be transferred to yourself or to someone else, you can easily do that. And another thing is that we're working on an LMS, not LME, sorry, I'll kind of switch that here. LMS integration. So right now you can share your Mentimeter presentation. You can copy this embed code and add it onto Moodle, for example, or Canvas or Blackboard, and it will be the presentation with the results. But if you want to actually have a proper integration, that's also coming along with our product team. So yes, I think that was it from me. And I would love to get any questions. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions or feedback. All right, I see in the chat. Oh yeah, Kostas, do you want to?
Yeah, a very fast question. Probably
Yes.
you have already mentioned, but when you share your slides and you share the option to your co-editors to place a comment, should they have an account in Mentimeter? So I have an account in Mentimeter and I'm organizing this. Can I share, someone that does not have an account on Mentimeter, or he or she should create an account in Mentimeter in order to be able to edit?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if we're talking about collaborating within the presentation, they should have an account, and maybe they will be part of your own workspace. So depending on the license agreement you may have with Mentimeter, you can then add them into your collaborator. So I have different people on my workspace, so I can then just go ahead and add them here. You can, of course, change the restrictions in your workspace, so you can allow members to come in and view. Maybe they have a free plan, they won't be able to edit, but you can change that in the workspace settings so that you can allow anyone and people outside of your workspace to collaborate with you, or only people from your workspace that can collaborate with you. So it depends very much, but you can. purchase, but they do need to have a Mentimeter account, whether it's free or paid. Yes. If
So it's
they are students,
the same
no.
philosophy with the Google Drive. I mean, you can share something and you can place, the restrictions. You can arrange the restrictions of editing, read, or, whatever.
Yes, exactly. And then if you want to share the presentation with the students, you definitely can as well. So again, you can go on to slides and you can click here so that they can copy this link and they'll be able to see them. So if you want to share them with the students, you can as well. And I want to also quickly share the results here so that you can see that you have both the create and the results tab, and you'll be able to have a summary from each of the slides. What was the participation? Right now, this little lock means that we cannot know the names of the participants, but if you were to have removed that and added the names there, then you'll be able to see who participated. So Gali, Kostas, Eli, and so on. And I can see what was my participation rates and so on each. And I can work on segmentation directly from here. So the results page is quite nice. But I do see that there were some other questions here. So if Raphael asked, if I base Menti on one of my PowerPoints, does it only see the slide contents or also the content of the comment window below each slide? Does it only see the slide contents? Okay, so if you are working on PowerPoint, for example, if you're adding Mentimeter slides in there, if there are, let's say, comments or Q&A within your Mentimeter, it will be showing there on your PowerPoint directly. And I hope I'm understanding the question correctly. Otherwise, feel free to voice it over.
Yeah.
But yes.
If I have an existing PowerPoint myself, which I use in my classes, I always have, of course, content on the slides, but also I add quite some content in the comment field.
Okay, I know what you mean. Maybe that's like the presenter notes, perhaps you mean?
Yeah, yes, exactly. I was looking for the word. Thank you.
So yes, so let me kind of show here. You can also have the speaker notes. I don't know if you can see it below here, but you can add speaker notes onto your Mentimeter, but this will only show for you. So if you are sharing, it's kind of like a separate screen. You can follow along with your Menti mode. So I'm actually gonna click here on the Menti mode. I can choose to walk around my lecture hall with my phone, and I can actually move along slides so I don't have to be stuck on my laptop, and I will be able to see the notes that I've added myself as speaker notes. So you can do that with Mentimeter. Hope that is what you meant. Rafael.
Yeah, it's okay. Yes, thank you.
Perfect. All right.
Thank you. Any other question? Okay, so if there is no other question, I'd like to thank you very much for the presentation. And thank you, both of you, Kahoot and Mentimeter, Nicholas and Itai, for this morning. We will continue our sessions. In the next year, we'll send an email about it and see, and we'll let you know which tools we will have in the next sessions. So thank you very much, all of you, to join us this morning, and we'll see you in the next activity of Impact and Meital. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eli. And please share with me the recording in order to upload them to the YouTube